Everything you need, nothing you don't.
Get in the zone, AutoZone.
Restrictions apply.
On the battlefield, there's a saying America's military men and women live by. Never leave a fallen warrior behind, ever. Off the battlefield, Wounded Warrior Project operates with the same goal. Wounded Warrior Project was created to help our men and women returning home with the scars of war, whether those scars are physical or mental. Wounded Warrior Project. We never leave a fallen warrior behind, ever. Learn more about what we do at Wounded.
Savings are heating up, and so are the summer super deals at the used car superstore on the Sheeler Motor Mile. You don't need super strength to get approved for credit. Sheeler owns the finance company. Getting approved for credit is super easy on the Motor Mile with financing options for every budget. Sheeler makes car buying easy with the hottest brands all in one location. Cars, trucks, vans, SUVs. Many have miles in the teens, remaining factory warranties, and some are even local one-owner vehicles. Over 900 used vehicles in stock now and ready to move. More than any other dealer in the area. Plus exceptional service, selection, and savings. Need some summer spending cash? Sheeler will buy your vehicle even if you don't buy from us. Plus super money for your trade. Volume selling means volume pricing. And we've got the volume with over 900 used vehicles in stock now. No games, no gimmicks, just summer super deals at the used car superstore on the Sheeler Motor Mile, your premier used car dealer. Locally owned for over 50 years. I-81 exit 118C in Christiansburg. Call 866-SHEELER1. Always open at Sheeler.com.
As a mom, I want to enjoy my time with my family and not energy-draining, time-consuming projects. That's why I trust Executive Maintenance. When I need a handyman, I call Executive Maintenance. When I need lawn care and landscaping, I call Executive Maintenance. And when I have a big project like gutter cleaning and pressure washing, I call Executive Maintenance. Guard your family time. Trust Executive Maintenance for all your house jobs. Visit executivemaintenancelynchburg.com and call them today so you can spend time enjoying your family as I do.
You're stepping into the fast lane on the VTRN Sports app, 93.3 FM and 1320 AM Lynchburg, or by asking Alexa or Google Home, open VTRN Sports Lynchburg. Now, take the fast lane through the topics that matter across the Commonwealth. This is the Fast Lane with Ed Lane.
Well, that was interesting. Good Thursday afternoon, and we welcome you into the Fast Lane on what has been the wildest day at the ACC Kickoff that I can certainly remember, and that I would presume many other people could remember as well. And I've been coming to these. I've been blessed to say that, on and off since 2008, 2009 for football and men's basketball. There have been different iterations. It was never the Bobby Bowden era of the ACC. So keep that part in mind. And that was also a different world where you had newspaper, radio, and TV, but you didn't really have the social media element with podcasts and with different media outlets that create that type of content. So keep all that in mind. But today is by far the wildest day that I've seen. And don't just take my word for it, or to quote LeVar Burton from the wonderful childhood show Reading Rainbow, you don't have to take my word for it. You can just go to Fastlane Ed Lane, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and check out the photos, because at those particular spots, we've got different variations of what today was like with the Bill Belichick, I'll call it circus, coming to town here in Charlotte, North Carolina for the kickoff. There were security guards. I'm not joking here when I tell you this, by the way. There were security guards at the entrance to the hotel, the venue where this is being held. Two of them, although ironically in the photo we have, I think one of them's on his phone, so clearly doing his job to the best of his abilities. And then there are two more that were at each ends of the escalator. There were also security guards on the, it's technically the third floor entrance. There's like a ground level, which would be basement in a lot of spots, but it's listed as the first floor. Then there's a second floor, which is kind of your main streets in Charlottesville where you enter. And then you've got a third floor, kind of one floor up from that. And it's amazing the buzz that was around this venue. Security guards were certainly part of that buzz, so that's part of it. There's also just the general buzz. And if you've been in certain environments or rooms, you would understand what that's like. We'll use some football comparisons here for those that can understand. Let's use Virginia basketball as an example. When they clinched the ACC regular season championship against Syracuse back in 2013, first one into the Tony Bennett era. There was a different buzz at John Paul Jones Arena for that game than a lot of other games, even games against Duke and Carolina, because of what was at stake. Then Liberty, when they played BYU and won that game back in 2022 before it all went to hell in a handbasket and Hugh Freeze was looking at Auburn and then eventually took the job there. There was buzz there. Or Conference USA championship games that Liberty's won. I'll never forget the one right before the COVID hit at the Vine Center. I think it was the last year Liberty played in the Vine Center for a basketball game for men's basketball. And there was a different buzz to the Vine Center than there were normally at those particular venues. Virginia Tech, if you've ever been to night games there, there's a different buzz. But certainly games, I was fortunate enough to go in the Michael Vick seasons. They played a night game against Miami that year. They drubbed the Hurricanes that year. And there was also that level of buzz that you just often don't get in other spots, but you do. That type of buzz is what was different about today at the ACC kickoff compared to a normal day because of the Bill Belichick factor that was there. And then not to mention just the volume of media members. There were a lot of media members here that were throughout the entire week, but there was clearly like this extra oomph, if you want to call it that, this extra burst of media members that literally came in for about a 2 to 3 hour window this afternoon when Bill Belichick and North Carolina were in the room. I'll be honest, I am not starstruck in the least, so it just doesn't, I don't know if resonate's the right word, but it just doesn't resonate with me in the sense of, oh my goodness, what celebrity can I interact with? And maybe this is just too close to the sun, and I'm not just referring to the fact that we've got a working relationship with Michael Lombardi, the GM of UNC football, and back to his time when we carried the Lombardi line when he did that for VSiN on the VTRN Sports app and the Virginia Talk Radio Network. I'm just saying in general, if you're around this for a long period of time, like you've seen these people go to the bathroom, not literally, but you've seen them walking past each other in the bathroom before. You realize they go to the bathroom like everybody else. You realize they're human beings like everyone else. They may have a lot more money, a lot more access, and a lot more prestige, and maybe a lot more knowledge in their particular craft than normal people would have in theirs. And there may even be things that you can gain as an inspiration to be the best leader, the best competitor, the best performer in whatever your field of life is, from parent to work to whatever. But I am not starstruck by it. So maybe I'm too close to the sun on this. But I was in awe at the volume of people that were gathering around, waiting for Bill Belichick to address the media. And there were two different forums in which he did this. He did not come to Radio Row at all. There was North Carolina media, and a lot of them packed up and left. They brought the North Carolina players down. It was, as far as schools go, the least communicative and the least organized structure in terms of communication for people. More on that in a moment. But just the Belichick angle to it and the circus seemingly around Bill Belichick, I haven't seen anything like it. And, I've been at a number of media days where Roy Williams and Coach K, who are two of the best college basketball coaches of all time, have been present for that particular event. We've been blessed to have Tony Bennett a number of times in the fast lane. I know I wouldn't put it on the Roy Williams or Coach K level, but clearly doing a lot with what he had at Virginia and winning a national title, he reached that status. And maybe I'm too close to the sun on this, having been fortunate enough. I bumped into Tony Bennett on my wedding day when my wife and I got married outside of Charlottesville. We stayed at the Boar's Head, and we were up there. I know, free plug for a sponsor, but their food, go look it up. It's had some challenges in the 2025 year, so we'll throw that part out there too. But Bill Belichick brought an infinitely different level of attention and hype around it. And you kind of wonder if some of it's invited when they are adding the extra levels of security. I don't know whether it was requested by Bill Belichick, mandated by North Carolina, and whether or not that just it escalates the amount of attention, because, these events take place in North Carolina. And as far as the state of North Carolina goes and the accessibility for people just in the area, like, with all due respect to Bill Belichick, and he's won 6 Super Bowls, he's arguably the greatest NFL coach of all time, and he's clearly had an impact and brought attention to North Carolina football. So let's keep that in mind. But in terms of North Carolina royalty, Dean Smith and Roy Williams and Coach K are as high as it gets there. And there was never that level of attention to those particular figures. And they are, I would say, more revered by the fans in North Carolina than you would find elsewhere. And I would love to connect at some point with someone from the ACC offices to kind of get an inside look at what all went into this, what all was requested, who was making the requests, how all of this came to be. Because there were 2 media availability sessions that were more breakout press conference style Q&A availability with Bill Belichick. But he's the only one who did nothing on Radio Row as far as individual interviews. And yes, there's some people that are still around here as we chat with you today in the fast lane. But, for example, Dave Glenn, who is as revered as anybody with the North Carolina Sports Network, he and his crew, they packed up and left. Also, a couple of other avenues have packed up and left from the area around here. And that's the part that's just the most fascinating and interesting element to this with the Bill Belichick part of North Carolina is, they put requests in, and I heard from multiple people that their requests never really got even confirmed or denied or returned or anything else. There was just no communication whatsoever from them to them. And that's what's the amazing part of the Bill Belichick experience today here at North Carolina. So we'll get into that a little bit more tomorrow in the Fast Lane with Ryan McGee. We'll have some inside info on that too at Fast Lane, Ed Lane, wherever you listen to podcasts and Facebook Live and YouTube. But just a couple of other nuggets here from the ACC kickoff that are worth mentioning as well. And that we haven't necessarily gotten to because a lot of the oxygen has been sucked out of the room by the Bill Belichick story. When he was in a room, you could tell there was a different buzz to it. And then when you would walk out of those media rooms, it was different. The quietest Radio Row was all day at the ACC kickoff was when Bill Belichick was speaking in either the large-scale breakout forum or in the smaller scale that you'll probably see highlights of at different social media outlets. And when Belichick was there, the circus was so large around him that it was just so much smaller anywhere else you went. So it was just an amazing thing to watch and see. I was under no delusion that we were going to get Bill Belichick at all. North Carolina is one of the 2 schools that, and I'm not shocked by it if the North Carolina people are having trouble communicating and getting access to any players or anybody here at the ACC kickoff, and they are more tied to that program than we are in Virginia. Yes, I know for vanity's sake, we'd love to have him, and anybody on Radio Row would certainly take a chance to chat with Coach Bill Belichick. But when you're talking about the media coverage, it's different. But there was one media member from North Carolina who mentioned, and I overheard him talking about this point, and the media member said that he had reached out to North Carolina's communication staff at least 5 times since they got access to the Radio Row and the radio setup and the overall media setup here, from phone calls, emails, and text messages. And first of all, point of pride is kind of going up in my head as a salesperson who often uses a lot of creative means to reach out to different people and to try to connect with them. And if you don't communicate with me, trust me, we'll go to whatever link we got to go to get a hold of people. And communication with me, even if it's a no, is better than blowing me off because, relentless is part of the job for me as well. So there was a point of pride when I heard that. But this media member, who is, again, much more closely tied to covering North Carolina, also had a difficult time getting access to it. So that's part of why it's just fascinating to hopefully take you into some of the insight of Bill Belichick and the experience at the ACC kickoff and just how different it was. And I'm sure more people will opine on it on social media. Some may bend and offer their thoughts as well. But I can't say that I'm surprised that it unfolded the way that it did. I don't think it really has a lot of impact on whether North Carolina wins football games or not. But just from a raw, what's it like being there with Bill Belichick? The photos are up. Fast Lane, Ed Lane, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram to go take a look and to get an idea of what the experience was like for that at the ACC kickoff. When we return, though, different types of experiences. What's it like trying to parse through a Hail Mary that fans think should have been called differently? Al Riveron, ACC Director of Officiating, will drop some insight and perspective on that when we return. We'll ask him about it. We'll see what he has to say when we return. This is the Fast Lane on the VTR and Sports app
The savings are huge at the big summer sales event going on now at Magic City Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram in Bedford. Save up to $10,400 off MSRP on a new 2025 Ram 1500, or save up to $7,700 off MSRP on a new 2025 Jeep Grand Cherokee Limited. Plus, we have over 230 incredible pre-owned vehicles in stock, marked with huge discounts. Don't miss our big summer sales event at Magic City Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram in Bedford, 1750 Independence Boulevard, MagicCityBedford.com.
Rain takes a toll on your house, including your chimney. Even when it's not raining, prolonged humidity impacts your chimney. Don't wait for the problem to enter your house. Call Black Goose Chimney Service. Featuring decades worth of experience, Black Goose Chimney Service will assess what your chimney needs and give you honest answers. Because the longer you wait, the worse it gets. Get ahead of the problem. Call Black Goose Chimney Service and visit blackgoose.net.
I wake up every day making sure that I make this food perfect just for you. The Caribbean Jerk Pod. Come join us. Come try to taste our very great Caribbean island food like oxtail, jerk chicken. We make the best authentic seasoning. Hot, mild, as you like it. Order from 1 to 7 weekdays at DoorDash or Grubhub, or browse the full menu, CaribbeanJerkPod.com. If you want me to spice up your party, call me anytime. Caribbean Jerk Pod. We bring the best of the Caribbean to you. Join us.
This fall, Saturdays belong to the Hokies.
Oh, and these Hokie fans are going crazy here in College Town, USA.
Lane Stadium, electrifying, iconic, the best in college football.
Oh, you'd have to be here to believe it.
Built by tradition and fueled by passion.
Breaks free at the 10, to the 5, touchdown Tech.
Where every roar and every cheer brings you home. Are you ready to start jumping? Tickets on sale now. Visit Hokiesports.com.
Hi, I'm Matt with Fleet Feet Roanoke. I've enjoyed working with Ed Lane and the Virginia Talk Radio Network, but when they sold their Roanoke station, I was skeptical the partnership could still provide value. Months later, I'm thankful that Ed took the time to meet with me, discuss the right solutions, and a plan to invite his audience to Fleet Feet Roanoke. Now we're able to build a connection with that audience thanks to Ed's creativity. Stop by and see us at Fleet Feet Roanoke to learn more. We'd love to get to know you.
Email info@virginiatalkradionetwork.com to start growing your business.
Once there was a man who couldn't stand.
A mom who couldn't wait.
A scientific community that said it couldn't be done.
And then you.
And then I. And then we brought neuromuscular disease into screaming color with the Muscular Dystrophy Association.
For 75 years, our voices have thundered through the halls of Congress.
We've willed the impossible into existence. We've pushed the science,
raised the funds,
shifted the narrative,
and transformed the reality of life with neuromuscular diseases.
For 75 years, we've built communities together,
established the field of neuromuscular medicine, and made it thrive.
Call that a legacy.
Call it impact.
Call it momentum. Just call it ours.
Because it's the generations of community heroes that give MDA the strength we have today.
And until neuromuscular disease is a thing of the past, you couldn't stop us if you tried. Join us and celebrate 75 years of breakthroughs at MDA75.org.
Some journeys start small, with small pause and big purpose.
Look how little fly, you sweet girl.
Every great partnership begins with the first step.
Yeah, let's go.
Guiding them through the world so one day they can guide someone through life. With shared experience, confidence grows, and the path becomes clear. It takes time, patience, and love. But the reward lasts a lifetime. You don't just raise a puppy. You raise a future. Become a Dogs Inc. puppy raiser. Give a dog a purpose. Give someone hope.
Learn more at dogsinc.org.
Thank you for listening to VTR in Sports. As an appreciation, we're ready to reward one lucky listener each month with a $100 gift card to InsaneRadioDeals.com. It's simple. Take a photo of how you're listening to your favorite station, then send it to us at info@VirginiaTalkRadioNetwork.com or tag us on Facebook, Twitter, or send us a DM, and you're entered to win. Winner will be announced on the first business day of the following month.
Hi, I'm Brent Pry, head football coach of Virginia Tech. Catch the Fast Lane with Ed Lane and Trey Lyle weekdays 5 to 6 p.m. on VTRN Sports 93.3 FM and the VTRN Sports app.
Step into the Fast Lane 24/7 at Trey Lyle VT and Fast Lane Ed Lane on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, YouTube, and wherever you listen to podcasts. Now, back to the Fast Lane.
So one of our favorite chats here in the Fast Lane, and you don't do these as much during the season. Al Riveron, Director of Officiating for the Atlantic Coast Conference. And frankly, honestly, I don't mean this as an insult to you, Al, as we're glad to have you back in the Fast Lane. I much prefer chatting with you in a setting like this because I'd imagine when you're in the middle of the season, I can imagine the phone calls you probably get from coaches on a week-to-week basis. The stress level and the mood for you is entirely different if we were to chat in the middle of October as opposed to right now at the start of the season.
Ed, no doubt about it. First of all, thanks for having me here this morning. But yeah, it is a pleasure to be here. It's a pleasure to be here and sit with you anytime. And during the season, the conversations are not, hi, Al, how you doing? Let's invite you over for Thanksgiving dinner. It's usually about something else that happened during the weekend, but they're all good conversations. And it's basically information, questions. Why did this happen? Why did this did not happen? How did we get to that decision? Who was involved in that decision? How do we work at it better? How do we work at it better as a team? And how do we not allow that to happen again? So it's basically a lot of questions that we answer for coaches. And we do have training videos for the coaches during the season. And we explain a lot of things that happen, rules, philosophies, interpretations. But there's still questions on a weekly basis. That's just part of what we do.
So you mentioned things that happen. I guess this blends the off-season and in-season. Is the Director of ACC Officiating, Al Riveron, is with us in the Fast Lane. What continuing education do you and your officials undergo in season, or is it even more out of season when you have a chance to sit there and digest?
It's a different load. There's more in season because we have tape readily available of what happened this week, and the continuing education and the evaluation. Our officials are evaluated, graded on every single play of every single game. So imagine you sitting here and you're evaluated or graded, or someone tells you how well you did or did not do on every single interview that you're doing this weekend. And that's exactly what we do. It's not about the grade. It's about the play. We break it down an average of 177 times. That's the average number of plays in a college football game. Then during the offseason, we will take and put video together of things that we need to work on, things that we did well. And then we talk about the new rules too. Also, we have to incorporate video in that and able to get the point across both to our officials, our coaches, and players.
Al Riveron, Director of Officiating for the Atlantic Coast Conference, and is hanging out with us today in the Fast Lane. We mentioned the review and the process, particularly what you guys do off-season. What are things you guys can do in season, especially when there are things that may be more urgent attention or things that may be more of a common occurrence?
That's a great question, Ed. So we have tendencies during the season. For example, if we see that we're not performing up to par in a certain area, let's just pick holding for now. Then I'll get my position supervisor, my umpire, position supervisor, my center judge, position supervisor, and put some tape together and video immediately. First of all, find out what's going on. Are we out of position? Are we looking at the wrong spot? Or do we just have to adjust or tweak our mechanics during the season? We will do that, and we'll jump on it immediately.
How much of an asset do you believe you have in that role, having been on the field in these type of situations?
Well, I was there, Ed, and that's a great question. So, and I worked 3 or 4 different positions in all the time that I've been officiating football. So, but number one, it's a matter of who we have. Our position supervisors, they're the best in the country. They've worked thousands and thousands of games, both at the college level and at the NFL level, and they're great teachers. So I basically take the data, I listen to the coaches' questions, I listen to their remarks, I give it to them, we put video together, and that's where we take off from there.
Al Riveron with us. He's the Director of Officiating for the Atlantic Coast Conference, and he's hanging out with us today for a bit here in the Fast Lane at the ACC Kickoff. Al, the process of reviewing in college athletics, you mentioned getting better and how that is a goal. This is just my observation. One of the things that always chap my gears is sometimes when there's so many officiating stoppages in a game, particularly if it's, it's 3rd down and 19, and was he inbounds or out of bounds for a gain of 3? Is that worth reviewing or not? I know you want to get every call right, but also understanding what impact it's going to have on the overall flow of the game. How do you and your officials toe the line between trying to do the job to the best of your abilities, but also understanding where it fits on the grand significance?
And that's a great question. And this is why now there's some movement to try to go to that NFL hybrid model of giving the coach, let's say, 2 or 3 timeouts and allowing him to challenge whatever he feels is important. And the rules and the philosophy of replay is, if it's an egregious error, let's fix it. And you're right. At 3rd and 19, and did he get 2 or 3 yards? We're not supposed to stop that. However, we might have a coach that says, listen, I was setting up the next play. I was setting up for a field goal. That's important to me. So what's important to us, what's important to them sometimes is not really critical to us, and we don't stop it. I will tell you, though, in the ACC this last year, we led the country in review time. We were at approximately 226. We also understand when we sit in the command center and we stop the game that we have a responsibility to our viewers, to our listeners, to our fans. Because when you think about it, a play takes typically about 8 seconds. We have 177 of those. If you do the math, that's not a lot of live football. And now here we are adding another 2, 3, 4 stoppages during a game. No, we can't do that. We're also in the entertainment business, and we have to remember that we have to keep the flow going, and people don't want to sit and watch some people in Charlotte decide whether he gained 2 or 3 yards when you're right. It was 3rd and 19.
Al Riveron with us here in the Fast Lane. Al, we're chatting about the officiating in the process. How receptive have schools, and oftentimes they're speaking on behalf of their coaches, been to the idea that, I mean, this has always been my theory at least, the coaches are paid millions of dollars. If you want to hire a staffer for $100K and say, your job is to tell me should I review or not, go ahead and do that. But it takes some of that burden off of the officials. How have the coaches been in terms of their receptiveness to the idea that they do get more say and power, like you mentioned, with maybe 2 to 3 challenges per game?
Again, it was just talked about this spring. It's been going on now for about 2 years. We're still not at the point where the rules committee wants to go that route. But I can tell you there's several coaches in our league who are pro for that already. They've said, yes, we like that model. There's certain coaches that are still sitting at the fence. But remember now, if we do that and take the load off the replay official or Charlotte, the responsibility is on them. That's another responsibility that they pick up. At the next level, though, what you just said, Ed, is very true. Probably half the teams on Sunday already have a person on staff that will tell the coach, go ahead, throw the flag on this one. We need to review it. And there are several teams already across the country in college, some in our league. Remember now, presently they have one challenge that they can use. They don't use it a lot, but presently they have one. So there's some coaches already who are going in that direction.
Al Riveron, fascinating insight as the director of officiating for the ACC, and he's with us today in the Fast Lane. Al, people have their own thoughts of the officiating system, and you mentioned how the ACC is one of the most time-efficient processes in the ACC. Take us through the process of when the replay review is initiated and it's decided, hey, we're going to take a look at this, all the way to you guys reviewing it in Charlotte, that being relayed to what fans get to experience when the official tells us what the ultimate adjudication is back on the field of play.
So before I go there, Ed, this year there's going to be a unique situation where the ACC is doing what no other conference is doing. This year, live audio and video during a replay review of what's going on during our replay. That will be part of our broadcast system this year. So if the review, whether it's initiated at the stadium by a coach, whether it's initiated in Charlotte, or that particular play requires a review by rule, such as targeting, immediately everything, all the camera angles that we have afforded to us by our network partners are so tuned in to Charlotte. We have several people that stand there, usually the replay supervisor and myself. We go over it. We know what camera, for example, if we're looking at a goal line camera at a goal line play, we'll have 2, 3, maybe 4 cameras there. We'll look at those cameras, examine it, and we want to be out of there as quickly, as efficiently as possible, including the administration for the next play. Let's say we have a pass play we call complete down the middle for 25 yards. Well, we see that it's incomplete. The player went to the ground, did not maintain control of the football, and the ball hit the ground while it was loose. Therefore, we've got to go with the administration, too. We got to know where to bring the ball back to, reset the chains, And again, we try to do that in the most efficient, timely manner we can. And last year, like I said, the ACC was number one doing it.
I don't mean this next follow-up question to Al Riveron, director of ACC officiating, who's with us here in the Fast Lane. I don't mean this as a gotcha or trying to get you to box someone in a corner, but you mentioned the video and audio of the process of a review being conducted so that anybody outside, fans, administrators, everybody can kind of get an inside look at that. Were you on board with that idea? Was that something you and your staff said, hey, we love this idea so people really know what we go through? How receptive were you guys to that concept?
You know what? It's different. It's different. And last year, by the way, we gave that information to the network analyst, and we basically had a trial period, and it went extremely well. At the end of the day, people might not agree with the decision, and I understand that, but at least now people get to see the process as to how we got there from A to Z. We get to see where the ball was in the air, where the ball was when it hit the player, and that the ball hit the ground. Now, sometimes we might not have those angles, and we know the premise of replay always starts, the ruling on the field is correct. Whether it's right or wrong, the ruling on the field stands if we don't have indisputable video evidence to overturn that. So at least now people can see the process. Again, they might not agree with the outcome, but as long as we do the process correctly, we win.
So I'm not in the the officials rigged the game. I mean, I think that's preposterous. Your job is to properly legislate the game as possible. I also acknowledge that nobody's perfect, although your goal is to try to be perfect. That's what you should want, and I would imagine that's what you and your staff have. But the explanation part is often part of that as well. You know, everyone remembers the Miami-Virginia Tech football game last year, and how much do you look back at that and just the overall season and view it as an opportunity for officials to provide even more clarity on what they see so that fans may disagree with the call, but they at least understand where y'all are coming from?
Well, and let's go back to that play. That was a unique play. It was at the end of the game. It was for the win for either team.
Sure.
Fortunately, that was a primetime game. We had over 25 cameras. So we saw the ball the entire time. We saw, and it took 5 minutes and 52 seconds. I know how long it took. Believe me, it felt like 5 days. And I understand that. And that's way out of the spectrum of what we go through week in and week out. But that was a critical play for a win for either team. And again, we were very fortunate to have all those cameras where we never lost sight of the football. If that would have been another game, maybe a Saturday afternoon game with half those cameras, I don't know if we could have made that decision based on the amount of cameras that we have. At the end of the day, it's all about the number of cameras and what views do we have of that particular situation.
That's fascinating, the volume of cameras and how it impacts the way you guys and your officiating crew have access to that. I'll wrap it up on this. I'm going to make a presumption here, but you guys have access to all the cameras that the TV crews have on setup. Is that correct, that you guys can see all the pretty much all the same angles to be able to make the best decisions possible?
Yes, we do. We have a certain number of preset cameras that come into our command center. And then anything else that TV has, we have a term that we're in contact with them and we say, dump the bucket, which means anything else that they have that we haven't been privy to yet, they send us. So to answer your question, the answer is yes. We have privy to all of their cameras.
That is fascinating. Al Riveron with us here in the Fast Lane, giving us an inside look at the entire officiating process. Al, we'll wrap it up on this one. It's always one of our favorite questions, but Cuban American, that's your heritage. You continue to hold this role. You've evolved from being an NFL official to being the director of officiating at the ACC. Is that a burden for you? Is that something that you still take the same pride in as when we asked you about that a couple years ago? What's your reaction when you're asked about your Cuban American heritage and being able to be an ambassador for Cuban Americans in the officiating community?
I really take pride in that, Ed. I mean, it's a unique situation to have someone really that wasn't born in this country sit in the chair that I sit, but it really is an honor to be associated with this great game. I mean, football is the greatest game in the world, and I every day I pinch myself and wake up and I go, I'm part of this greatest game in the world, and I'm the luckiest person that sits here right now.
It's a lot of fun to chat with you, Al. Thank you for your time and insight, and we really appreciate your generosity going a lot longer than we have to and running a gamut of different topics and insight.
Appreciate you having me here, Ed. Thank you.
Al Riveron, Director of Officiating for the ACC, will pivot from that to players and coaches. Virginia Cavaliers. What does Tony Elliott think of Lynchburg native Billy Kudelka? We'll ask him, plus Jameer Carter and Chandler Morris. All that when we return. This is the Fast Lane on the VTRN Sports app, and ask that smart speaker, open VTRN Sports.
Savings are heating up, and so are the summer super deals at the Used Car Superstore on the Sheeler Motor Mile. You don't need super strength to get approved for credit. Sheeler owns the finance company. Getting approved for credit is super easy on the Motor Mile with financing options for every budget. Sheeler makes car buying easy with the hottest brands all in one location. Cars, trucks, vans, SUVs. Many have miles in the teens, remaining factory warranties, and some are even local one-owner vehicles. Over 900 used vehicles in stock now and ready to move. More than any other dealer in the area, plus exceptional service, selection, and savings. Need some summer spending cash? Sheeler will buy your vehicle even if you don't buy from us. Plus super money for your trade. Volume selling means volume pricing, and we've got the volume with over 900 used vehicles in stock now. No games, no gimmicks, just summer super deals at the Used Car Superstore on the Sheeler Motor Mile, your premier used car dealer. Locally owned for over 50 years. ID1 exit 118C in Christiansburg. Call 866-SHEELER1. Always open at Sheeler.com.
Have you looked at your home's exterior lately? Do you see faded siding, paint peeling, and wood rotting? Windows that are impossible to open and close, and gutters falling off? Call Collins Siding and Windows to transform your home's exterior and save you money on energy costs. Dreaming of a new porch or sunroom? Collins can do that too. Since 1989, Collins Siding and Windows has been transforming homes in Central Virginia. Roofs, windows, siding, gutters, porches, decks, and sunrooms. They can do it all. Call Collins Siding and Windows today, 434-525-6307.
Around the table with Vicki. Just like gathering around the dinner table with loved ones and friends, we're here to share stories, insight, and inspiration. When I designed that daytime center, we went back way in the 50s. And so we've got some old-timey pictures on the wall, talking about root beer and old Coca-Cola.
Because that is what makes daytime so special. We have so many people that come into the property, and they're like, I would have never imagined this being here. I've never seen anything like it. I can tell you from running social media pages, we put out posts about it. I have people from all across the nation writing in and say, hey, is there anything similar to this in
Cleveland,
my
Ohio,
state of Oregon
or
or whatever? And that makes us feel really great.
Does. Pull up a seat and join our conversation. Around the Table with Vicki is my new local radio show and podcast, discussing leadership, entrepreneurship, philanthropy, faith, and family. Saturdays at 10 a.m. on WIQO.
With MedGuard Alert, you're never alone. You can connect with medical professionals anywhere, anytime. And now MedGuard is introducing our exclusive new Care Watch. If you need help quickly, use it from anywhere to contact medical professionals. No cell phone required. The Care Watch is not only a life-saving medical alert device, it's a revolutionary health monitoring system that checks your blood pressure, heart rate, oxygen saturation, and much more. And here's the best part. If you have Medicaid, you may qualify to get your Care Watch for free. The Care Watch is only available through MedGuard Alert. Call us right now. We have monitoring programs starting as low as $1 a day. The call is free, activation is free, shipping is free, and no contract is required. Remember, with Medicaid, you may qualify to get your Care Watch for free. Call us to get your Care Watch right now.
800-681-8020. 800-681-8020. 800-681-8020. That's 800-681-8020.
Your next experience is awaiting you at InsaneRadioDeals.com. With summer heating up, these deals are only getting hotter. Check out great deals from Rise Up Climbing, 4-day passes to Floyd Fest 25 Aurora, Aquatrek Adventure Tri-Scuba classes, and much more. And of course, tickets to Lynchburg Hillcats, all at InsaneRadioDeals.com. Check out these deals before they run out. Summertime at InsaneRadioDeals.com. It's just heating up.
Hey, this is Virginia Tech analyst and former Hokies tight end Mike Burnham. You're listening to The Fast Lane with Ed Lane and Trey Lyle. Join the chat at Trey Lyle VT and Fast Lane Ed Lane on Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, and Instagram.
So it's continuing our look ahead to the upcoming college football season. Tony Elliott, head football coach, Virginia Cavaliers, gracious enough to give us some time at the ACC Kickoff. Tony, it's a pleasure to be speaking with you once again. Pressure level, does it feel different this year with the volume of changes and that you're entering year 4 How does this year feel different for you in terms of the expectation level heading into this season?
Yeah, externally, I don't pay attention to that type of pressure. I think internally, man, there's an excitement around the building that maybe hasn't been there in years past. I think there's a different level of confidence, with the guys walking around the building. I think there's a different level of hunger. So in terms of expectation for me, it's all about how we compete day in, day out, week in, week out. And I feel that the guys are really positioning themselves to be ready to go compete weekly.
To what do you attribute that additional level of hunger?
No, I think the guys that have been here from the beginning, right? They now have a clear understanding of who we are as a program and where we're trying to go. They have an appreciation for what the progress that we've made, the investment that's been made in the facility and the nutrition and the strength and conditioning, and they also are eager to welcome the addition of talent and depth into the program, because they know that we were close in a lot of games, and they understand that a little bit of added depth, a little bit more competition in practice is what gets you over the hump. So I think that's what you can attribute it to.
Tony Elliott, Virginia Cavaliers head football coach, with us in the Fast Lane. You mentioned a little extra depth, a little bit more competition in practice. Where does the coaching equation fit into that as well, for not just you as the head coach, but for the assistants on offense, defense, and special teams to clean up those margins?
Yeah, so we got to do a great job of making sure that we get all the guys in the right seat on the bus, right? That's the first thing that we have to do. And then we have to get the newer guys up to speed on the schematics that we use. And then we have to foster that competition in a healthy way on the practice field. And then we got to reward, the guys that have earned, playing time. Those are the areas that I'll be evaluating the coaches. They'll be more dialed in on the details of the scheme. Big picture, I'll be looking at kind of those areas as I evaluate staff.
When you speaking of evaluations, over 30 transfers have come into this program this year, and then there are additional players coming in from high school. This is a large volume, about 50% roster turnover.
Yep.
How do you evaluate that many players in that short of a period of time when Virginia, there is the revenue sharing, paying athletes component that's now more prevalent than ever with that rev share, but also there's an aim component, it seems, that still is important in Virginia, even with guys that may only have a year or two of eligibility left.
That's right. So first and foremost, the guys that we brought into the program, we believe through our evaluation, they fit the values of the university, first and foremost, right? They align with what we're trying to get accomplished as an athletic department and a football program in terms of the holistic development of our student athletes. The evaluation on the field, a lot of it starts with, okay, what gaps do we have to fill within our roster, right? Where are the areas where we may be talent deficient, and we have to go improve that talent while trying to find the right type of young man that is going to maximize his 6 months, year, 2 years, 3 years, depending upon how much time that they have within our program. So it's an intricate puzzle that you gotta put together. But the staff, I think staff continuity is key to that and the evaluation, because we've been together now for a while. We know what the expectation is in terms of the profile of the players that we're looking for, the type of talent that we're trying to attract. We got into the kind of character that it takes to be successful in our program, and then the type of commitment in the classroom that the guys have to be successful on that side of ground. So with 54 guys, I believe that we were able to identify the right type of guys to bring into our program.
There was not nearly the volume, it seems, of coaching staff turnover relative to the number of coaches that are there versus player turnover relative to the number of players that are on a football roster. How is that an advantage? How is that something that you came to the conclusion that, hey, we got a lot of coaching player turnover, let's not exacerbate that with coaching turnover?
Yeah, so, I mean, if folks have followed kind of my progression as a coach and my development and my training, I mean, one of the reasons I believe that I'm in the position that I am is because of the continuity that I was a part of, right? The staff that I was a part of, man, we were together for the better part of 9 to 11 years, right? So we made each other better, right? We knew each other, right? And it helped us to better develop the young people. So I'm a big believer in continuity, right, amongst the staff. I also know where the program was when we took over. And, I'm fully aware of the steps that we got to take and kind of how we're progressing towards that. So I'm excited about being able to retain the bulk of my staff, because you think about it, you bring in new players, you got to train a new coach, everything's new, right? So you're starting over. So if you got 54 guys coming into your roster, man, you don't want to have to start completely over, right? Now, going forward, with the guys that we now have brought into the program that we believe fit, for us, the evaluation, will really, I think, take place from a coaching standpoint.
Tony Elliott, Virginia Cavalier head football coach, hanging out with us today in the Fast Lane. Some bigger picture topics that we can get to in a moment, but one of them includes just the overall transfer portal. You guys benefited from both windows of the transfer portal. There's been talk of constricting that to one window. Where do you fall in line in terms of, if Tony Elliott were in charge of college football and they took your opinion to heart, what would you advise on how to manage this?
So I'm in support of one portal window. I don't know if I have the best answer of when it should be that fits all 130 plus institutions, but I do believe that one window, is better for just for the nature of college football, right? I think it creates some more stability, some more continuity. I think it helps from an academic standpoint with the guys because they can, potentially stay put a little bit longer and continue to progress towards their degree. So I'm a proponent of one. I don't know where exactly it is of the two kind of options they have on the table. I know which one I prefer because it fits Virginia and it benefits Virginia, but I also know that may not be the best for, another institution.
Offense, defense, adaptability.
That's right.
We'll go with one on offense and one on defense. Chandler Morris and an offensive line that there are a lot of new pieces, and we'll use this in multiple ways, but investing heavily in that particular side of the ball.
Mm-hmm.
How have you seen that come together, and where does that need to improve?
Yeah, so you heard Josie on stage today talk about welcoming and desiring the additions that we added, and it's been a pretty seamless transition in terms of the personalities with those guys that we brought in on the offensive line, which I think helps the quarterback because then now, he's not trying to foster relationship in another position group. Those guys have already kind of taken to each other and started a bond. So now he can insert himself from a quarterback standpoint and just lead, if that makes sense.
You brought in a lot from the Lynchburg area. Sackett Wood, Eli Wood have both been there. Billy Kudelka has turned a lot of heads so far for many people, at least covering the program.
Yep.
What can you share about how equipped he is to, I don't know if start is the right word, but play significant minutes and contribute?
Well, man, we're really excited. You started to see Billy, late in the season, increase his snap count. And he's a little bit bigger, a little bit faster, a little bit stronger this year with an off season in the weight room. So I'm excited. Now he's got a lot of competition because we brought in 4 guys at that position, but I think he's going to be the type of guy that's going to rise to the occasion. So I'm excited to see how he comes out in fall camp, and I fully anticipate that you'll see him on the field making some plays for the Cavaliers.
Tony Elliott, Virginia Cavalier head football coach in the Fast Lane. Tony, thank you very much for your time.
You.
We'll chat again soon.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
And we'll pick up where we left off from Virginia Cavalier head football coach Tony Elliott with Jameer Carter, defensive tackle for the Virginia Cavaliers. And you don't know where we left off, but we do. We get to ask you about this. We'll get to the whole defense, the defensive line, in the upcoming season. But you're on the same line and part of the same unit is one of the fan favorites in our greater Lynchburg footprint at the Virginia Talk Radio Network, Billy Kudelka. What have you seen from the end of last season through the offseason that has as many people excited about his growth as they do?
Yeah, seeing Billy when he first got in compared to now, I've loved his progress. He's very dynamic as a player. As you know, he's really tall, so he brings a lot of, length to the game. I'm excited to see what he does because there's times he got in the game and he had a really good, he had a good showing.
You mentioned what he was able to do, in particular, his growth. How invaluable has it been for Billy Kudelka? The experience, he comes from a multi-sport background with lacrosse and football, and his dad's a lacrosse coach. How much have you seen that in terms of leadership and understanding how to figure out what to do and what is necessary to take steps from year to year and game to game in the season as well.
Yeah, I know when you have a player that comes from, a background of a lot of different sports, they're usually really athletic, because things transition over. So for him playing lacrosse, and, I don't know what other sports he played, but, him playing lacrosse, his conditioning level is great for, how big he is, so that's really good to see.
And I would imagine the ability to carry weight as well.
That is true. And usually with taller guys, you can't, the weight, evens out pretty well. So
there's a lot more of the body to carry that weight. Jameer Carter, defensive tackle for the Virginia Cavaliers, with us in the fast lane. Jameer, we touched on one mainstay that's been there before. You've been in this program for a couple of years, but there are a lot of new faces on this roster, over 30 college transfers that have come in. There are high school players that are additions.
Mm-hmm.
You're looking at about half the roster that's turned over. How have you noticed that change the attitude and demeanor of Virginia football?
Yeah, I think for the most part, everyone's grateful for the opportunity because, like you said, when you change a program around, there's a lot of new guys you have to recruit. And to bring in so many new faces, like they understood that, okay, this is Virginia, this is what we're trying to accomplish, and guys want to be a part of it. I think that speaks a lot, just on its own that we have so many guys that are committed to, Coach Elliott in this program.
What kind of vetting process is there when Virginia, rev share, NIL, whatever you want to term it, exists, but the feedback we've gotten is by and large been there's also an academic and just makeup of who you are component that's different at Virginia than other places. Have you noticed that to still be true, even with the large roster turnover and the large volume of transfers?
Yeah, I think that is true. And I think a lot of it has to do with the culture at UVA, the culture that Coach Elliott has built over these years. Education, is the biggest thing in this program. He's probably mentioned that so many times in interviews. He probably will forever, but, that's always first. And guys that come in, they understand that. So, it's not like it's a, hidden message that is just football and money. That's not necessarily true at UVA.
Who's defensive tackle Jameer Carter with us in the fast lane? You referenced the educational component, and Tony Elliott mentioned that's part of the reason why, even with the struggles of the last couple of years, there's not been a lot of coaching staff turnover, is wanting to be able to build on education and have an idea of what to teach and how to teach. How much have you noticed that playing out in your eyes? Has that been a benefit to this program to have coaching staff continuity year over year?
Yeah, when you have a coaching staff that's consistent, it makes the development process for a player so much easier because you're not, transitioning to a new coach every year. That could be a struggle for guys, especially guys that, only play in one system. A new coach comes in, it's a new system, so that could be a lot. So having Coach Elliott, since for me, it'll be, 5 years now, it's been great for my development because I understand what he wants. I understand how he's teaching, so it makes things a little bit easier.
What level of pressure and expectations are there on you and on your teammates this year with UVA football?
Yeah, I don't think we have a lot of pressure. I think we're just excited to showcase, what we can do. We understand that we have a lot of talent. We see it day in and day out within our, our walls of the facility. I think it's time to start showcasing that.
Jameer Carter with us here in the fast lane. Jameer, a couple questions left for you. You're an older player now. You've been at Virginia for a while. You also have a wedding ring on.
Yep.
So how many years have you been part of a different club, the Honeydew Club?
Yeah, going on 2 years now. So we're approaching 2 years. It's been great, but, I met my wife in high school, so we've been together for a while. We met back in 2015.
Oh, wow. So 10 years together.
10 years? Yeah, freshman year of high school.
So you're part of the Honeydew Club now.
Yeah, I'm part of it, yeah. I've been a part of it for a while, I feel like. It's been good.
Do you have chores, yard work, things that you have to do now?
Yeah, that's I like the joke. That's really my first job. I like the thing that, being a husband is more important in life than football. So that's always going to come first to me.
Because of that, do you have 5-year plans, 10-year plans, 15-year plans? How do you envision the remainder of your Virginia and your football career playing out, and what's to come beyond that?
Yeah, so, for me, we all have a goal of winning the ACC championship. And, that would be one heck of a way to go out in my career at UVA. And after that, pursue my dreams of the NFL. We see how long that lasts and where that takes me.
Jameer Carter with us here in the fast lane. Jameer, thank you for your time. It's great to chat with you. We appreciate your time and perspective running a game of different topics. And congratulations on an upcoming 2-year anniversary as well.
Thank you. I appreciate you.
Continuing with our chats here at the ACC Kickoff, that was Tony Elliott first and Jameer Carter, defensive tackle for Virginia. Now the quarterback, Chandler Morris, stopping by with us in the fast lane. Chandler, simple question, why UVA when you had a lot of options in the transfer portal?
Yeah, I mean, I think it goes back to my relationship with Coach Elliott, and I've known him for a long time, since I was about 11 years old. Family, I've known his family. He knows my family, and we have a lot of respect for each other. And so I think it's my last season. I want to go play for a person that I know is a great person, is going to have a good staff around him. So that was a big attraction for me.
When you mention it being your last season and knowing what all that entails, is there a level of added, just for you personal, pressure and a chance to know that, I mean, if you're going to make impressions or, even just have a chance to go out on top, this is it?
Yeah, I mean, there is. I mean, obviously you want to go out with a bang on your last season. But I mean, I don't view it as that, as pressure on it, but just more so, I mean, just taking everything that I've learned throughout my career, applying it for this season, and going out there and then putting in the work, and then just surrendering the outcome, and just go and try and play my best ball.
What would you say you've learned that's prepared you now to elevate yourself into the ACC and being the starting quarterback at UVA, if that comes to fruition?
Yeah, I mean, just all the things that I've learned, I guess, through the just the highs and the lows, how to handle both of those things. I've had a lot of success in my career at TCU, North Texas, and then also too, I mean, just I've had a lot of stormy times and a lot of storms I've had to go through and overcome. So I mean, just not taking the day for granted, going out there, and I know what it takes, and just going out there and applying it, and just trying to go win some football games.
Chandler Morris, quarterback, Virginia Cavaliers, stopping by with us in the fast lane. When you encapsulate the Virginia recruiting experience, you reference your relationship with Tony Elliott, but there are a high volume of people joining you, over 30 in the transfer portal. You've also got a number of first years from high school that have come into this program. How much of the burden, opportunity, ask/responsibility has been put on you, particularly on the offensive side, to get everybody on the same page?
Yeah, no, I think there's been a lot. So this summer we've had a great summer. We've had tons of player-led practices. We'll go out there and it's ran by us, and going out there and executing plays and doing some 7-on-7 against the defense, and just getting as many reps as we can get in, making sure everyone's getting reps and getting familiar with the offense. And then two, getting my receivers in there, watching film together. Trell Harris and I have spent a lot of time together watching film, and then off the field too. I mean, spending time with those guys off the field has been very important. And then also the O-line, just getting out there and hanging out with them, and building those connections and those bonds, because we've got a lot of new pieces.
You mentioned the offensive line. I mean, there are a lot of new pieces on the offensive line. In your evaluation, knowing you still got a summer to go, how close or far is that unit from being what needs to be out on the field when you open against Coastal Carolina?
I think right now we're in a great spot. I mean, we're in the best spot that we could be right now, and then I think there's going to be a lot that's said during fall camp whenever we put the pads on and spot the ball. So, but I'm really pleased with where we're at right now with that group.
Chandler Morris with us here in the fast lane. Chandler, we'll flip it over to the other sides of the football, and one of the players in our footprint area that's been discussed a lot is Billy Kudelka. I know that y'all are not yet in the tackling portion of practices, and you might be granted some extra liberties at quarterback from being hit. How have you seen his development over the course of the spring, and does it match the hype that seems to be around him?
Yeah, I mean, Billy, he's a high motor guy. That guy, he never takes a play off. He's going to give it his all. He's long. He's going to help us out a ton this year. He creates a lot of pressure on the quarterback back there, and then also to the run game. He can make plays with, and extremely excited about him.
Chandler Morris with us in the fast lane. Chandler, thank you for your time here at the ACC Kickoff.
The Sports Betting Network.
Welcome to Make It Rain with Adam Shine on VSiN, the Sports Betting Network.
Yes, Thursday edition, Make It Rain with Adam Shine here on VSiN. And my goodness, we have so much to do today.